Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Gaming with Blockchain. I'm your host, AMineU, and we have a lot to present this week. Um, Simply because, you know what? In a few days, it's June, mid year, and believe it or not, there's a lot of things happening in the NFT and metaverse space for this half year kind of marker. So let's get started. We have Upland. We have the Memorial Day event coming this coming Monday. This is the long weekend for a lot of our American players. So what they've done is they created an event for it. What it will require though is that everyone will have to register as you normally do for any event. And don't worry, you do have the chance to have all that earnings that you've paid in for registration returned to you and then some. You have the chance to win this great or receive this great Harmony Tour Block Explorer, and the registration has started as of yesterday. So it ends Monday 8 a.m. Pacific time. The cost is 2,000 UPX, and you also, once completed, get some Spark. And we'll be talking about that Spark feature in a moment. But in addition to all of that, you also be able to receive this ultra rare collection, the Brooklyn Police Station, as part of a reward. That will be all details displayed in the Discord channel. So if you haven't joined the Discord channel, I recommend doing so. And as I said, this is information that how to participate. So I'm going to show you that clearly because they made a note that you have to start selecting your cities moving forward, and that makes a lot of sense. So if I'm going to go to my more at the bottom options and click treasure, this will pop up now because I already have Manhattan selected. But if I didn't, let's say because I'm in San Francisco, I would not see it. So each city is going to have their own kind of events going on, their own kind of tours or whatever features. So it'd be important that when you want to apply to anything, always go to the map and make sure that you're looking at the right city for your choices. And if you don't see it, that's probably why, because the city hasn't been selected. So if I select Manhattan will come up, and then I'm there ready to register. So I won't be registering because likely I won't be. I should, but I'm not in San Francisco, right? I mean, I'm in San Francisco. I have different plans to what's happening here. That means I have to fly out. So these are all these choices now. I have to fly out, take a train, fly out, fly back. Um, Again, it's not impossible to do, but is this something you'd be doing moving forward? So now all these choices now have to start coming into place as the game starts to expand, because likely, most likely, you're not going to be able to be in every city for every single event as you are in real life. You can't be everywhere, and you have to kind of wait it out and wait for secondary news and so forth. So the same thing's happening here. Ah, but it's a great event if you're there. The block explorer looks pretty cool, really. I've worked with this. I've had to kind of do different renditions of this same memorial piece myself. So this is a good spin on it, a good take on it. Now, what we're doing now moving forward, what has all the Spark have to do? We've heard about the builds, the property builds have started this week for a small test group, and part of that build had to do with what's called sharing, because the builds are going to take some time. You're applying actual man hours to your builds, and that means, okay, well, if you want to build a house, what's that timeline mean? Some places building a house can take a year and a half. How do you compress that into crypto timelines? And that's what they've worked out. So they've had these builds, and what's it mean now to do it? So I started a build early in the week, and I had two Spark, and it was going to take me 54 days and 4 hours to complete. So basically, 2,600 Spark hours. Now, again, that's crypto hours in complete theory, not real construction hours, just to make sure. And then I realized, okay, yes, but we're also looking at how to collaborate with our builds. So what I did, it was that I now demoed it. I put it under demolition. I said, okay, yeah, let me see if I split my Spark up a bit and see how how this process will work. And so I did a build for myself, and I split my build from my to Spark to my 1.5, and that was now my Spark I had to build with. And moving it back to San Francisco because that's the place I decided, okay, let's start. This is where my build's coming along. So I have in total to 74 days. So that point 0.5 put in 74 more days, put in 20 more days on my build to accomplish this. So now in the last few days, I have now 68 days and 21 hours. These are the details that are in place, and this is what's going on. So, and I did the demo, like I said, to remove it to kind of split, and I got all my Spark back. So in case you're wondering, did I get my Spark back? Yes, I did. And now I reallocated, and I'll show you where that other allocation went. So this is what's happening in the build. And what's going to be important when you do your builds, and I would suggest everyone really pay attention to it if once you decide to do so, is how you're going to make this build happen. What is it you're going to want to do with the build moving forward? So again, still the skeleton is still relatively empty. You'll see these new features coming in, better details, but how do you place it? What do you want to do? Because the marketplace is coming up, and other assets to your structure or to your lot can be applied at a later date. So you want to kind of be wary of that moving forward. You don't want to just plot it down and not kind of think about, oh, well, what else can be applied here? What else could maybe be possible? So then the other area that I've now contributed to was a build here. So the build we just saw was a townhouse that's a 3-story. This is now a similar townhouse, and let's see how long their build is. Okay, so they're further ahead, and we could look at the contribution, and they have 10 days left. So you can see the significant difference in time in means of how fast the builds can happen. Now you can't, like I said, there'll be ways in which you can gather more Spark or you know, I mean, there's hints on other ways in which to add to more Spark. Those haven't yet been revealed or finalized, but you can see the difference in time now in order to build a similar structure in place. So this is a lot narrow structure, so a little smaller, but still it's time, resources, and everything else, right? When you try to simulate an economy that most people probably would not be weary of, I should say. Whoops, let's go back here. So now what does it all mean? Now the hope is that in possibly in a few weeks, maybe, again, don't quote me, it's just rumored that this build options will now be open to everybody else in the group, as long as the stress tests continue to work well, and that's where everything's being tested. It's now, if everyone's building at the same time, if people are sharing their Spark or contributing to their Spark, can the network perform the way it needs to, and not have any kind of major issues moving forward? Because again, it's about the experience, and everyone wants to have a great experience, right? And so here we go. So we had the townhouse that we just saw, and that's the minimum amount you need to stake, and that tells you the hours it will take to do so. Now, how fast those hours are used, it depends on how much it's been staked. And then living units, it only has one living unit. The ranch house is a little larger, same minimum, and it takes one living unit. The minimum to stake here, the townhouse that I have building, it's 2,600 hours. And the minimum stake is 2, and it has 3 units. And then you can see all these units are in place. Now, some people say that with these units, you can rent them out. And again, it's a question, well, what's the value of renting? Why would people want to rent into something virtual? as we can see, the imagination is what is the only thing that limits where this can go. I don't even know myself. I'm curious to see where it's going, but we can only imagine the possibilities at this point. So now that being said, there's this is where all these features are coming in, and it's important that if once you do start to do it, as I mentioned before, you really kind of think of the whole landscape of what you're looking to achieve. Okay, so now we're going to go back to where I was, and we're going to go into one other detail now, and that's Chicago. Chicago is coming, and so again it's about that travel and how you travel and what would the travel be. And now the map's a little slow. Okay, there we go. So Chicago's coming. We don't know when, but it's en route. And once it does open up, it will be opening up similar to how Manhattan opened. And if you're new to the game, Manhattan and all the other major hub cities, now I'm talking about what we call tier one cities, they open up what's called in vanilla mode. So very limited features. So like there's no treasure hunts. Open up and unveiled in small packs, so little subsets of areas and neighborhoods, and then gradually expand outward. The same thing will happen for Chicago once that's released. And again, just primarily to test the framework of the game and make sure the stresses of the performance are being handled really well and without any issue. So if you're ready for Chicago, as I said, the month of June is going to be really busy. I don't know when Chicago's opening, but you do want to kind of take a look and maybe make plans if that's the best way I could describe it. Make plans for Chicago, and hopefully that you are, you know, in the running for the tier one. So the tier one will mean that the city's going to be highly priced. Most likely, the starting entry point will be around the $5 to $7. You may find some few gems that are under $5, but really rare in comparison to Fresno or Staten Island. The other likelihood too is that when Chicago does open, it's going to be less FSA properties in comparison to Bakersfield and Staten Island and Brooklyn and all those other areas. It may be where the FSA is only 25% and everything else is up to open market. So there's something to keep in mind. Now, where we would move forward now is now the database. As I said, this is a new database we had talked about not too long ago. I wasn't too familiar on its features, and I had to kind of guess what it all meant prior. And I'm just going to put in my login here. And I thought I did log in. So let's pause this for a moment. Oh, that's still good. Why not? And we'll see what this is all about. We'll take a look and understand the game, or I should say not so much the game, but what are the features in this particular database. And there's, of course, rumors of many things coming ahead for this particular service. So I played around with it a bit, and what is really good for I think will be, especially as the game expands, how do you look for information? How do you gather information? Because you're not going to be everywhere at every point in time. I haven't been, right? Like I said, there's certain times where I want to get a property in a particular city, but the biggest challenges has been, one, the travel, and then two, the FSAs. So likely I'm buying on a secondary market in some cases, and if more and more cities open up, particularly if they're opening up simultaneously, the likelihood of getting the first mints are going to be a bigger challenge. So here's another, I find what will be useful here is looking at areas and price points, and try to make comparisons as you would in real life. If you're doing it on a listing of MSL, you may find a property down the street, but then you want to look on an MSL listing and go, okay, what are the comparisons? What else is it? What else is around the area? So we're just going to choose something random nothing of any favoritism here. I'm just going to apply some filters to it. So I'm going to say, what's the cheapest that's unminted, for the sake of argument, and it's going to go through its query, and it's going to pull within Brooklyn and within the sub area of Carnegie properties that are within the cheapest unminted price point. But they're right now, they're unlocked and they're ready to go. So if you're looking for something, these are areas that you can find if you're in the neighborhood. But now let's say I wanted to find something more advanced filters, and I want to, in particular, I want to find a property that starts with, I'm a numbers person, starts with 5, and I want it to have a particular size of no less than 15 UPX, but nothing too big. I'm not looking for anything that's larger than 30. All right. The mint price max, that can stay for there. And let's say I don't care about the neighborhood. I just want Brooklyn overall as a city. So I can now do a search, and it can now show me a listing of the minimum size I'm looking at up to the maximum point that I had described. But I can now say unlock properties, or I can say all, and do the search again. And now I can find out who's owned it, if it was a FSA to be initially in the case, if it's for sale, and if I click on visit property, it will take me to the link right away, at not that I'm logged in, but it'll show me the property in more detail. And you can go through it and then do a street view if you want, if the street view comes up, and you get an overview, you get a snapshot right off the bat. I think it's really, really nice that it links that way. But then at the same time, you can look at what the markup values have been overall, and at the same time you can, if I remember to do this right, let's get back there, do markup, but there was one, there, you can go, whoops, that's not what I wanted. No, where did I find that before? There, my bad. My bad. Neighborhood cheapest minted. Oh, here we go. You could go for the lowest markup sale. Again, very quick. You can do specifics here, but then you can do general overviews. And then you could do it in the city of itself. I'll show you one more thing here as it populates. And maybe let's take off this feature, because probably that's too restrictive. Let's try a search again. Like anything, you put in too much data, then it does ask, you're asking a lot. Oh yeah, oh yes, you can save your filters as well, so that's a good feature in case you want to come back and see if anything has changed. So while that's kind of figuring things out, let us look at the other option as well, which is the maps. And this is now the sends. So I can look at sends, and you can find out what city I'm in, and I can find sends for that city closest to the properties that I have. If you're into the treasure hunts, and you play the treasure hunts. Oops, map of treasures not showing up. You can then see where things have populated in that area as well. I don't do the treasure hunts that much, so it's hard for me to provide explanation there. But it does give you an overview. Okay, so for now I'm going to look at a different area here. We're looking at a neighborhood, and we're looking at where has this neighborhood grown. So Bakersfield, one of the latest cities that they've been released, is 22% that has been minted. We're looking at the floor entry price is about 5,000. Medium sale price is about 7.5, and then you have the average markup for this neighborhood itself. Excuse me. And you can see what's been on the market, where the price points have come in, and the collections that they are part of in some of these properties that are there. So it's a good resource tool to engage and get more familiar with what the game's back end is doing for you. So I recommend logging in, because it's this time now you have to log in if you want to get more deep information. And to do that login, you're just basically assigning a property at a high sale value. Not that you're selling a property, you are just putting it up for sale at a ridiculous high point, just to say that you've now registered into this platform. And it's a great way to do so. So then again, here's more information of how things have happened over the last few days, so you get a sense of what market changes are going on. Again, like property management, like a retail real estate agent or broker or anybody else interested in urban planning, perhaps. These are the kind of things you want to kind of gauge and understand what's moving the markets in any particular area or particular space. And we're looking at now at the dashboard, and this dashboard here shows you general overview. One that's the last few hours, and the other one that would be maybe in the last week. It gives you that kind of update. So hopefully all this has been informative. I hope you've enjoyed what you're seeing here, because as I said, the game's just growing. I did, as I had mentioned before, very late up night calls with players, new players getting on board, helping them understand the mechanics. If you're interested in something like that, because you just need more one-on-one, let me know. We do this maybe once a week, and well, I could provide more details if you just send me a message, and we can go from there. So until next time, I hope you enjoy the Memorial Long Weekend. If you're our American counterparts, if you're anywhere else in the world, hope you have a chance to participate in the Memorial Weekend tour. I recommend it. I think it will be a great thing to, again, just participate in and have fun learning how the tours work and everything else. And then until next time, until we find out where the builds are going, and hopefully you'll see further details on the next build in the next few days. Please continue to share. I thank you for all the new viewers. I'll be hopefully getting through some responses quite shortly. And, have a great time. Everyone enjoy the Upland expansion. Take care. Bye.